Another morning in the political great awakening of the Israeli left. Protesters outside the Jerusalem yeshiva of far-right Rabbi Tzvi Tau, known for his hardline views on gays and lesbians and on gender roles.
I have seen how our future looks. I have seen people from the tech sector who have stopped worrying about exits and started being interested in the fate of the country.
This privileged group is asking to defend its own privilege. It doesn't want to advance any democracy.
While across town at the Israeli parliament, lawmakers are moving forward with parts of the government's proposed judicial overhaul. On Wednesday, a preliminary vote on a bill stripping powers from the Israel Bar Association. A day after another stormy session of the Constitution Committee, another vote under protest from opposition lawmakers, another debate where the legal establishment lined up against the coalition on taking away courts' power to overturn ministerial decisions seen as unreasonable.
In a democratic state, all are subject to the rule of law, from the average citizen to the government and ministers.
This is indeed a question of values. We will live in a democratic state in which the values of the public are expressed through the decisions of its representatives.
The reasonableness standard is one piece of what was the full-on judicial overhaul, with even this one piece generating a reaction. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be betting he has the balance right between pleasing key allies who want the overhaul passed and keeping the protest movement at bay.
And that report by our senior diplomatic correspondent, Owen Alterman. He joins me now in studio. Owen, so many contentious political developments, but I want to hone in right now about the law of return, a provision known as the grandchild clause, making headlines again, a lot at stake. Tell us why. There are implications as well. Break it down.
Yeah, a super important issue, Benita. I think flying below the radar, at least at this point in the Israeli public. But just to go back for 1 minute to the wider political debate, a fascinating pair of sound bites. We heard a bit of them in that report. One from Yair Lapid, the other from Bezalel Smotrich. Fascinating, Benita. They each look at the same picture and have an entirely different way of describing it, right? Yair Lapid looking at the protesters, seeing people who are going through this, as I describe it, great awakening, right? Likening to what happened in the 18th century in the United States, right? High-tech people who aren't looking at their exits in their pocketbooks, who are now becoming engaged in politics. What does Bezalel Smotrich see looking at the same thing? A bunch of privileged brats who are losing their privilege. Those two sound bites just encapsulate the entire debate in such a deep way. But moving on to this issue of the law of return. Under Israel's law of return, the law that allows anyone to immigrate who has Jewish roots, and I'll get to what I mean by that in a second, and has been used again by hundreds of thousands of Jews to immigrate to Israel over the course of decades. The question is how to define who is a Jew. This has bedeviled Israel since its founding. The current phrasing in the law is anyone who is a Jewish grandparent, right, is considered a Jew, whether that person sees himself as part of the Jewish people or not. That has, over the course of time, and certainly in recent years, allowed many people to take advantage of Israeli immigration who don't see themselves as part of the Jewish collective. In fact, just in the last day or two, a research report from the research unit at the Israeli parliament at the Knesset saying that 30% of the new immigrants from Russia fall into that category, many leaving Israel quickly. At any rate, the religious Zionism party of Bezalel Smotrich wants to bring this back in the public agenda, to erase that clause, to narrow those who would qualify to make aliyah, to immigrate. Sure to be a hot-button political issue, particularly, Benita, for Jews coming from the former Soviet Union and the political parties in Israel who represent them in their perspective.
And on top of all the hot-button issues, as you put it, senior diplomatic correspondent Owen Alterman, thank you so much.